Hello, welcome to the GLP-1 Hub podcast. I'm Anna Reisdorf, registered dietitian, GLP-1 user, and today we have a hot topic on the podcast all about microdosing. So microdosing is taking small doses of GLP-1 for sometimes benefits outside of weight loss or diabetes. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Also, be sure to check out the resources that our guest has for supporting you on your GLP-1 journey. I'm always happy to refer people to legitimate resources of practitioners who know what they are talking about when it comes to GLP-1. So make sure you go to the show notes to learn more about what our guest, Katie Sorensen, is offering. Also, if you are loving the podcast, I would love more reviews. The reviews have been incredible so far. I am so, so grateful. If you leave a review and send me a screenshot of your review, I will send you your recipe collection of choice. The recipe collections, which you can find on the GLP-1 Hub website, have over 30 high-protein, high-fiber recipes to support your GLP-1 journey. Just let me know which one you want, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and I will send it right over when you send that screenshot. And finally, don't forget to check out the other resources on the GLP-1 Hub website. Our Beyond the Shot guide is kind of your basic nutrition guide for everything you need on your GLP-1 journey. And I also have a 30-day meal plan in addition to the recipe collections. So let's get on with the show. All right, welcome to the GLP-1 Hub podcast. I'm so excited to have Katie Sorensen today to come talk to us about a hot topic called microdosing. This has been super requested, and I'm so excited for her to talk about it. So, Katie, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and your awesome practice working with GLP-1 patients?
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And would love to talk to your audience about microdosing. You're right, it's a hot topic. So excited to get into it. I'm a nurse practitioner and I own a busy medical weight loss practice called Weight Loss NP. We can medically manage people in Colorado, Utah, and Florida right now. And then we do GLP-1 success coaching nationwide. So
Awesome. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what GLP-1 success coaching means? I love that. I love that name.
Thanks. So when we first started our practice, which was right after semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy, et cetera, was approved by the FDA for weight loss specifically. That's when we started Weight Loss NP. And at first it was a lot of like explaining to people that, hey, these medications exist. This is how they work. This is the benefits and risks, et cetera. And since then, over the years, there's come a lot of other companies that are offering these medications kind of just online. You know, you don't see a provider, you just kind of chat and get your prescription. And we feel like, unfortunately, the people on GLP-1s aren't often given the support they need to make their journey the best it can be. And so we've really found purpose in filling that gap and making sure, you know, whether you need the prescription in the states that we can medically manage, or if you just need that extra support that maybe you're not getting elsewhere, which we find super valuable so that people have long lasting, optimally successful journeys. We give that to them. So that's stuff like lifestyle, diet, side effect management, supplements if needed, etc.
So is it like you meet with a provider or is it like an online course?
No, so it's all provider driven, one-on-one personalized relationship coaching and management. So a lot of the other programs, like I said, use chats, even chat bots, medical assistants. Ours, like you'll have your own nurse practitioner that you'll see once a month and have direct access to throughout the month via secure portal.
I think that's great because my personal GLP-1 journey, the first time I went on it, it was like through one of these apps or whatever.
Right.
And I never spoke to the provider. They just like looked at my thing and were like, go up in your dose, go up in your dose. And then I ended up feeling like poop and quitting because of that, like
Yep,
nobody.
100%. We've even had patients that wind up in the emergency room or the hospital because they've made themselves so sick without the guidance that they need.
That's why I started this podcast to like try to mitigate some of these issues that people are having. But that sounds wonderful.
We really feel like people deserve to do this right. And there's ways to really help the journey go well, be really positive and not like tainted with side effects and being miserable. And therefore, people's success is much better, right? When
Definitely.
they feel well and can reach success in a good, positive, healthy way.
Yeah, I think that's just really important. People seem to not, like somebody told me the other day, I just want the drugs. I don't want to talk to anybody. And I'm like, that's kind of not the correct attitude to have about it.
Yeah,
So,
and it's that attitude that some of these online huge companies are profiting off of, which is again, you deserve to do this right is really how we feel.
so let's talk a little bit about microdosing. So let's starting from the very beginning. What is microdosing and how is that different from like getting a prescription from like your doctor?
Yeah, so great question. You're right, it's very buzzy right now, and this term microdosing has kind of been coined, and which is a fun way to talk about it. What it entails is micro, so tiny dosages of the medication. And the thought is we can personalize the dose that we give patients to get the best outcomes for their specific needs while really mitigating side effects and negative potential.
Okay. And so how does that start exactly? Because you can't use your traditional pen. Like my Zepbound pen just does one dose,
Right.
right? So how do you make it a microdose?
Yeah, great question. So, oftentimes to microdose, we really do need to use compounding pharmacies, and compounding pharmacies are FDA registered, regulated, USA based. So, in our practice, we vet them very carefully. And so, they're legitimate sources, but they provide the medication in a vial and then insulin syringes. So, tiny little syringes where people draw the medicine up, and we base their dose off of units, which then convert, of course, to milligrams. And what that does is give us really freedom to create the right dose and the right titration schedule for that individual. Whereas the pens at Walgreens or whatever local pharmacy, like your experience, they're restricted to the FDA approved dosing levels, and you get what you get. There is like a little bit of a fringe strategy where on Ozempic pens they can do like count clicks, but that's pretty error prone. So I personally like the compounding pharmacy approach better.
And so compounds, the FDA banned them, and I have air quotes right now for those that are listening. So how are you still working with compound? Because it seems like they are banned, but not really banned.
Yeah, it's a weird sort of environment. So, compounding pharmacies have actually existed long before like a Walgreens pharmacy
Yep.
existed. This is like the history of pharmacy was when pharmacists created medications for specific individuals. And so that's existed forever, and that's not banned. The FDA kind of put some clarification around is largely driven from big pharma, of course, because compounding pharmacies was they were digging into their profits, right? So we can still use compounding pharmacies for personalized dosages, personalized needs. If a standard dosage of Zepbound or the name brand medication doesn't fit the patient's needs enough, we can use compounding pharmacies.
So that's still within the FDA
Yep.
bounds.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a very important distinction between compounding pharmacies, which, like I said, are FDA registered, USA based, regulated, legitimate pharmacies, and then black market peptides, which come from other countries that patients will get access to online without prescriptions. Those are different and not okay, not recommended.
Right, right. I see a lot of chatter about that on TikTok.
Yep.
I avoided going on TikTok because I'm too old, but I guess I have to be on TikTok. But it's kind of scary.
It is scary. And it goes back to like, you deserve to do this well. And why would you put stuff in your body that Lord knows really what it is, even if they say there's third party testing? Well, do you trust that when it's like not even legitimate in the first place? I wouldn't.
So I think that that's something that I've been trying to reiterate is really being cautious about where your GLP-1s are coming from and the source and not buying from someone on TikTok.
I know I've seen it in my hair salon, a sign in my hair salon, oh, get your GLP-1. And I was like, just blown away. And it makes me like sad and frustrated for people because they do not deserve that type of experience. And it's unsafe, right? It's just unsafe.
So the hairdresser is selling GLP.
It's everywhere. It's at gyms, it's on TikTok, hairdressers, etc. So people need to know these are medications, pharmaceuticals that require a prescription and proper health guidance from a licensed healthcare professional.
I think you need to say that again for the people in the back. It is a prescription medication.
It is.
You shouldn't buy it from someone out of their garage.
Yes. Yeah, you deserve better.
Definitely. Okay, so some of the stuff that I've heard about microdosing, I mean, obviously it allows you to personalize so you can manage side effects and that kind of stuff. But I've heard people doing microdosing for a variety of health conditions.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's like a personal trainer and like super fit. She does not need to lose an ounce of weight.
Mhm.
And she started using it for like prevention for Alzheimer's. She has like strong family history of Alzheimer's in her family. So she started using it for that. So can you talk a little bit about that and whether there's actual research to support that, or people are just like, this is anti inflammatory, maybe it'll work, or like talk about where we are with that?
Yeah, great question. So there is research. I would say it's early because these medications are early in use for other things than diabetes. They've been used for diabetes for about a decade, which is awesome because we have all that history and knowledge of potential risks. But as far as for weight loss, obesity, and these other benefits that are starting to come up in the research, it is newer in the research, right? But it's some good research out there that says it really is anti inflammatory. And we know that inflammation is the basis of all chronic disease. So if we can reduce inflammation, we're likely to reduce other chronic diseases. And that is being sorted out in the research. Just last week or this week, a few days ago, there's another huge clinical trial that came out that says that GLP-1s are reducing the rate of like 16 different obesity related
I saw that.
cancers. Yeah, it's incredible. And then,
I saw that.
like your friend, there's studies that support reducing risk of dementia and Alzheimer's, reducing cardiovascular disease. That's actually an FDA approved indication for semaglutide is reduction in risk of heart attack and stroke, high risk individuals. Yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff. I've had folks that have real reduction in their migraines and that there's research behind that as well. So also another really recent development is one of the GLP-1s was just approved by the FDA for use in fatty liver disease,
Hmm.
called fatty liver disease. So it will start getting more and more FDA use indications, which will help probably the insurance coverage problem, which would be great. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's actual real science to support these other side benefit usages. And it's a strategy we're a fan of at my practice.
As a busy mom and business owner, I really need something quick and efficient to get my nutrition in for the day. I don't need another shake or powdered greens to mix up. I don't need something that requires me to take time out of my day or worry about taking it with a meal. I need something that's portable and convenient to take on my own time. Grunes does just that. Grunes are a convenient, comprehensive formula packed into 8 gummies a day. It isn't a multivitamin, a greens gummy, or a prebiotic. It's all of those things and then some at a fraction of the price, and bonus, it tastes great. If you want to give Grunes a try, you can get up to 52% off your order when you use GLP-1 Hub Pod at grunes.co. That's GLP, the number one hub pod at Grunes, GRUNS.co. The cancer study, I don't know how deeply you looked at it. I just saw some quick clips about it. When you say reduce the risk of cancer, because cancer is just so complicated, right? There's like
Mhm.
genetic factors and lifestyle and potential exposures to things that cause like just so much. So how can they say that it specifically lowers the risk of cancer? Or were they just saying it's doing these like changes in people's lab values? So we think that this would translate to cancer. Do you know more details?
I do know some more details. Yeah, it was a retrospective cohort study where they looked at over 86,000 patients and their medical charts, and they compared people using a GLP-1 versus those that were not on a GLP-1, and they tracked them out. And this is historical data, right? So it's stuff that's already happened, looking at what are the overall cancer incidences between those two groups. So I'm looking at kind of some summaries here. Significant reductions, in particular, reminding myself endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer, brain tumor, specific brain tumor, were reduced like by 17% on average in the GLP-1 user
Wow,
category.
it's pretty
It's
great. I mean,
really great.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we can do anything to reduce cancer, like I said, it is
Just
a multifactorial disease. So it wouldn't reduce 100%, but that's pretty significant.
it's huge, right? Like if I mean, any of us would choose to have a close to 20% reduction in risk of cancer, right? That's a no-brainer.
Sure, definitely. So, if you are interested in one of these different reasons to microdose or to use a GLP-1 and you don't need to lose any weight, like my friend, what do you do to because I would assume that there's probably just some people that even the smallest dose, they still lose weight on it. You
But oftentimes, really, we can find that dose where we're getting the right balance of benefits without weight loss, if that's the patient's goal. Like, say, just to talk about a good candidate, sometimes for microdosing, a lot of times there's some weight gain related to perimenopause. And on your recent episodes, I know you talked about that. That's a real concern for women, of course, right? So say this person comes to us and they have 10 or 20 pounds that they've put on recently, and it's frustrating. There's starting to be some lab changes. They're a great candidate for GLP-1s, which they would not, of course, meet the criteria for mainstream use, which requires the BMI over 27 and comorbidities at minimum, right? So they're a great candidate for microdosing and finding that dose where, in that person's story, they're losing a little bit of weight, but they're also getting benefits of inflammation reduction. So maybe their joints hurt less. That's something that we've really seen in perimenopause patients. Maybe they feel like more mentally clear. That's another side benefit we've noticed. They're a great candidate. But also, people like your friend who's the trainer, sometimes there's really no weight that a person wants to lose. We have a patient that is on GLP-1s for migraine reduction, and she's seen great results from tiny doses, so microdosing, and she doesn't have a weight loss goal. So we're monitoring her carefully. We're making sure she's not skipping her nutrients that are needed to maintain her weight and to not lose muscle mass while getting these side benefits.
Well, one thing that I wanted to ask you about microdosing, could microdosing be an option for weight maintenance once you reach your goal? Because I've been struggling. I'm on 5 milligrams of Zepbound and I don't really need to lose more weight. My insurance, of course, won't cover 2.5 because, they don't
They
cover.
drive medical care. Yeah.
Right. They don't cover half doses. So cool. So I'm here. So I've been considering maybe I just need a microdose, get a compound or whatever. So is that an option for somebody who has reached their goal weight and they can sort of
100%. Yeah, it's our favorite option for people that are at their goal weight, that like our personal practice plan A for the right candidates is to wean a dosage down methodically while a patient is maintaining their lifestyle habits that we've worked on throughout our program together. And we'll see if we can successfully come off of the medicine. And a lot of times we can for the right candidates, and it's awesome, right? But then we tell them, hey, weight has a way of coming back, and it's not a failure if you've gained any weight. We're here for you, and we want to hear from you if you've gained even 5 pounds, right? And so then we'll put a patient back on some medicine if in the case of regain. So we've had great success getting people off of GLP-1s. There's other people that want to stay in some supportive medications and they don't necessarily want to come off. Or say when they're titrating down, they're like, ooh, I've reached a level where I feel like I'm having to white knuckle my choices. I'm feeling hungrier, cravings are coming back. So we know in that process, okay, this person is going to do better with some supportive medication. But there's a line where we can find that are often under the smallest FDA approved dosage amounts. So sometimes even under 2.5 milligrams a week of Zepbound, where they feel supported. They are very successful in maintaining their lifestyle without having to quote unquote white knuckle it. We go on our merry way, checking in every so often, making sure they still have support and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Really great strategy.
So do you think that they can go? I mean, obviously it's going to be dependent on the person.
Yeah, we have people on maintenance anywhere from 0.5 milligram up to 2.5 milligrams.
Interesting. And does it still need to be weekly?
People can play with how often they give it to themselves. We've had success out to about 10-ish days, giving them the medication every 10-ish days. But I tell people there is kind of this compounding effect. And so FDA approved is every 7 days, of course, and that's for a reason based on its scientific half-life and when it's going to run out. So if you push past your own individual half-life, say beyond 7 days, there's going to be a point where we lose the efficacy from the week prior, and then you're having to re-step up to some level of efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
What is best is if we can kind of have a little overage from last week and then build upon.
Sense.
A lot of
Yeah.
things. But
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. So what we don't want is like an on off situation. We have to find that personalized every however many days where you're not experiencing the off entirely.
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
folks can get away with every 9, every 10 days. Yeah.
That
Mhm.
definitely makes sense because you don't want it to like just completely go away. But then if
Yeah.
somebody starts to spread it out more, do they have a higher risk of side effects because the medication has like kind of dropped? Because, you're supposed to build it up.
Right. Yeah. So, yes and no. People who are on kind of maintenance phase, their bodies have gotten used to having this molecule on board. And
Mhm.
so, less risk of side effects in general, and then less of that potential of like if you missed a dose and then go back at your same dose level. Sometimes that's a real problem for new GLP-1 users. So, like people like that should always consult their prescriber of like, what should I do if I missed a dose? But people on maintenance phase who have been on the meds for like over a year, they generally will be okay to go back on their same dose if they missed one or if they forgot for a few days if they're like 12 days out.
Right. Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Good. That makes sense for sure. So, what do you think is the future of microdosing? Do you think it'll be like, I'm not saying that it's not accepted, but like more mainstream, maybe?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think there's more and more side benefits coming out in the research that we kind of touched on with decreasing inflammation and then from there what it can support in risk reduction for chronic disease. And so I think for people that are interested in really expanding their health span, the biohacking group, people that are wanting to be proactive about their health and longevity, I think there's a real use case for microdosing in GLP-1. And I think
Mhm.
probably will become more mainstream eventually.
Yeah, as we, I think, have more research to back up the different
That's right.
uses and all of that kind of stuff for sure.
That's right.
So, in your practice, what is one of the biggest challenges you see people having with GLP-1, whether it's nutrition, exercise, side effects?
Yeah, all of those things are things that are worthy of intention in the journey and making sure that you're supported so that you have minimal side effects, that you're not losing muscle mass and replacing it with fat while losing weight, right? The scale number is not the outcome we're after. We're after improving people's life and health, right? Despite what really the scale says. So, challenges though, side effects, of course, is a big one. In our practice, very few people have to stop the medication due to side effects. And I think that is because of our personalized dosing strategy, where we're after the best mix of efficacy without significant side effects. And we're able to tailor their dose specifically for that goal. I think it helps a lot. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, oftentimes we'll have people that come from other practices that really had a miserable time side effect wise. And then we kind of restart, re strategize, and are able to get them on a therapeutic dose of medication without being miserable.
I wish that there would be more ability to sort of personalize that because if you go to just like your doctor, they might not really know how
Mhm.
to do that or want to do it or,
Yes,
be
that's true.
willing to fight the insurance companies to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great point. And I think a person interested in microdosing is more than likely going to have to search out a practice that is already doing it um, to sort of smooth that over or have a conversation, with your PCP, maybe send them a message, say, hey, are you open to microdosing in the first place? You
Mhm.
know, a lot of
Right.
primary care providers don't even have access to compounding pharmacies. It's just not in their like wheelhouse. And so you're right. Your people are probably going to have to seek out a practice like mine.
So if somebody is outside of the states that you work in, like, and they're searching for somebody, how do they know that the person is legitimate?
Yeah, great question. So, as we talked about, these medications are prescription only. So, whichever practice you go to, you should be verifying the license type of the prescriber. And so, like in Colorado, the website's dora.gov. There's always a state website where you can go in and plug somebody's name in and see that their license is valid and up to date and that they are who they say they are. So, very important step. And then when you have the meeting with that person, you want to be talking about how do you source the medication? How have you vetted the pharmacy sources that you use? What sort of documents have you looked at from the pharmacies that you use? You want to make sure that that person is really knowledgeable in how this works in above board, situations.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important to do the
Yeah.
diligence
Yeah.
to get the safest compound that you can, for sure,
Yeah.
or
100%.
treatment.
treatment that you can, and really having that knowledge for your own self that there's compounding pharmacies that are safe and have been around forever and are FDA regulated. They are absolutely above board. And then there's black market stuff, right? And there's a big difference between the two.
They're calling it gray market now, so it doesn't seem so bad.
I know, and I
Yes.
don't like that. I thought about using that gray term, and I'm like, no, it's really
It's black market. Let's call it what it is.
right.
So there's so much coming down the pipeline with research on the GLP-1. What is the thing that you are most excited about in terms of what you've seen that's on the way?
So many fun things on the way. It's an exciting time in medicine because I think we, scientific medical community, are developing new ways to treat people that are plugging into the body's own systems. So GLP-1 medication, it's really giving our body something that we underproduce in our guts that tell our brain that we're not hungry, that we're full, that better manages our metabolism and blood sugar control. And that's why it works so well. So I feel like we're finally plugging into like, hey, let's optimize our own body systems instead of giving something random that kind of tweaks our body systems, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why we've seen such great success with GLP-1s, and we keep seeing all these new side benefits come up, like the cancer reduction and dementia reduction and migraines, etc. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm excited about personalized medication expanding into other areas as well, like cancer treatment and just all the things. I think we're on a new era of medical research.
Awesome. That's so exciting. I never heard somebody say it like that. That's really cool. It's an interesting point of view for sure. Like finally works with us and helps us actually be healthier rather than, all these side
Mhm.
effects that medications have
Exactly.
had.
Like, no wonder it works so well, is because
Yeah.
it's optimizing our own body system.
Yeah, for sure. So where can people find about your practice and also your GLP-1 support program?
Yeah, so our website is the WLNP, as in weight loss NP.com. And we do free consultations, and you can always email or message us via the website if you would like more information. Our website also has great freebies, and we put out a monthly newsletter with freebies such as like GLP-1 meal plans, metabolic optimization strategies. So anyone's welcome to get on that.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Well, I'll put all that in the show notes. And I want to thank you again for coming here to educate us about this new frontier of microdosing.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. So be sure you ask your care providers about it or reach out to us.
And we'll have a great day, Katie.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the GLP-1 Hub podcast. I hope you learned a little bit about microdosing and some of the benefits from Katie. Make sure you check out her resources, which are all in the show notes. And just a quick reminder, we also have plenty of resources for you on the GLP-1 Hub website. And we always could use some reviews of the podcast. It's been going so well this year. And I'm so pleased with how many people have listened and downloaded and reached out and all of that. It's just been really rewarding. So I want to thank you for making it such an incredible success. And we have lots of amazing guests to come, and I'll see you in the next episode.